So my name is Bridget Carroll and I'm a director of the MSc in Sustainable Development, Agri Food and Cooperatives, and you're very welcome to this postgrad information session here at Cork University Business School. I'm going to give a brief overview of the programme, and then I'm going to be joined by three of our graduates to tell you about their experiences of the programme and their careers to date. And then, because the placement is such an important part of the programme, I'm going to be joined by Gráinne North, who'll tell you a little bit more about our placements. And then we'll open to a question and answer session, and I'll be joined by Dr Olive McCarthy, who's a founding director of the programme, and who's going to tell you about our great placements, our great scholarships rather, and help us with any questions that you might have. So we really encourage you to post some questions, any questions that you have. No question is too simple, and we're here to help. And I hope that you find this session informative and interesting. So we'll kick off. The Masters in Sustainable Development and Agri Food and Cooperatives is it's a level 9 programme, and it focuses on sustainable approaches to food systems and agriculture, but also sustainable approaches to other key areas in society and tackling issues in society more generally. And of course, sustainability is of urgent importance to us all now, and that's reflected in the fact that it's a growing area of importance for many businesses, as well as government departments, other public bodies, communities, and indeed individuals. And I suppose all of these entities are basically trying to integrate sustainable practices into their work. So there's a huge growth in opportunities in terms of jobs, but also in terms of active citizenship. And there's a great opportunities for skilled professional people, you know, who have a holistic understanding of the economic and the social and the environmental issues underpinning sustainability. And this master's programme, I suppose, equips participants with the organisational, the management, the research and the policy analysis skills needed to make innovative contributions and real contributions in this area. And it gives students a deeper understanding, and it's very solution focused, and it really focuses on how change needs to be implemented for sustainability and what that looks like on the ground and the skills you need for it. So I suppose looking at the slide here in terms of our content, for us, sustainability isn't just about reducing carbon or reducing waste, even though, of course, that's important. We take a wider lens on it, and we look at cooperatives and other types of collaborative and I suppose solutions and structures and circular approaches across society, because sustainability needs cooperation and collaboration if it is going to work. So this is the only programme of its kind that integrates cooperation and cooperative approaches into the study of sustainability and agri-food. And you can see here on the slide the core content areas of agri-food, and in addition to that, I suppose we focus on agri-food and sustainable food systems, but also other sectors like energy and health and housing and employment and the sharing economy and so on. And our department and our research centre has over 40 years experience in this area. So you, as well as the core content areas there, the programme also focuses on building, I suppose, the core employability skills of graduates of the programme. So, you know, I'm talking about project management, I'm talking about professional development, digital marketing, and we also have electives in soil science and sustainable energy. So the idea being that you're really ready to hit the ground running when you graduate from the programme. You're able to contribute straight away. So you can find out, we can close that slide now because you'll be able to find more information on the content on the website, and we'll give you a link at the end. In terms of design, it's a 12-month master's programme with lectures and field trips and guest speakers from September to March, and then a 5-month placement from April to August. And as well as a strong grounding in the core concepts that I mentioned there, the programme is very applied in that students are able to direct their assignments or base their assignments on real problems and real issues. And so it might be agriculture or food, but it could be housing, it could be other areas of interest to you. And the programme is also very interactive, and we work hard at that. The placement then offers an opportunity to I suppose it offers exposure in terms of practical exposure to the theory, and it involves carrying out a practice-based research project in conjunction with an organisation or a company to address a real issue. And it's a great opportunity to build networks and to transition to the work environment and to accelerate your career prospects. And I think we very much pride ourselves on offering a highly tailored and structured approach to the placement. And really this is evidenced by the fact that many of our graduates remain working with the organisations that they do their placement in, or the companies or the organisations. As well as the placement then, students on the programme go on a number of field trips throughout the year, especially to organisations that are strong in the sustainability space. So we have visited a zero carbon farm in West Cork. We've recently visited a biodiversity group. We visited a local development water quality project this year. We've visited a food co-op. And we also have very significant input by a very excellent group of guest speakers on the programme. And these guest speakers or guest lecturers, I suppose they'll tell you what's happening on the ground in their organisations, in their sectors and in policy. And they'll help you to kind of join the dots between the course content and the theory and what's happening in various sectors. And I give an example of a speaker we had this year was Ciara Byrne, who's a director of National Retrofit at the SEAI, which is the Sustainability Energy Authority of Ireland. And we've also had speakers from energy cooperatives around the country. We had a speaker from the Open Food Network. We had a speaker on the bioeconomy from the credit union sector and a number of different areas. So a key strength of the programme, I think, really is that it prepares you for and it opens you up to a huge range of opportunities that you mightn't know exist. And the programme is open to graduates of a range of disciplines, and that's really important because it gives you the space to follow up on areas that you might be interested in, but it makes sure that you're not pigeonholed either. So you might be interested in agriculture or food, but you might not have a degree in ag science or food marketing, and this programme can help with that. Or similarly, you might be very interested in sustainability, but you might not want to work exclusively in agriculture or food, and again, this programme can help in that regard. So I suppose a big question is, what are our graduates doing now? And naturally enough, that they're involved in a number of different areas. They're working in food companies, they're in sustainability consultancy roles, they're working as strategy analysts, they're in community-driven projects, they're in digital marketing, they're in public affairs and communication. We have a project scientist working with a rural-based water project. We have somebody working on a social farming project. We have people in supply chain analysis, as I mentioned. We have a few people doing PhDs. And of course, the jobs aren't confined to Ireland. We have a feature of the programme is that we have a large number of students who come from countries from all over the world. It's not a very large programme in terms of the number of students on it, but we have a wide range of countries that are represented. So we have somebody doing working with the FAO in the South Pacific. We have somebody in the ministry in Zambia. We have a graduate lecturing in South Africa. And it's a great part of the programme because it allows you to interact with people from all over the world and to share experiences with them. And it's quite a rich part of the programme. The fees are competitive, and there are a number of great scholarships for EU and for non-EU applicants available on the programme that cover full fees, that pay a stipend, and some of which come with an industry placement. So we'll tell you a little bit more about that in a moment. To be eligible to apply for the programme, you're required to have a second-class honours degree. But again, we will talk about that in a little bit more detail. So I think probably the best thing for me to do would be to, the best way to demonstrate, I suppose, the potential value of the programme for you will be to ask some of our graduates to share their experiences. And I'm really delighted to welcome our first graduate here today. It's Roisin O'Neill. Roisin, you're very, very welcome. And thank you very much for taking the time. I know you're working, so it's really, really great to have you here today. And you're very welcome, Roisin. Can you tell us what you're doing now?
Yeah, so I am currently working for a sustainability consultancy company called Change by Degrees, and my role here is project and business intelligence manager. So in a nutshell, what we do is support client projects in sustainability strategies, employee engagement programs, and sustainable communications plans. So I project manage those, as well as doing lots of the internal stuff as well, because it's a small kind of startup type company. So when you're involved with those, you tend to just be thrown in at the deep end and do everything.
It must be exciting to be at a startup. I mean, you're thrown in at the deep end, but then you're getting a lot of experience.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I've had amazing experience in the last year in business development. As part of my research project, I did an impact assessment on one of the services that we offer. And from that, I got to design and implement our impact framework within the company. So like, so much more exposure to different things than you might get if you were just in a larger company within one department.
That's after raising something there now. You actually, you did your placement with Change by Degrees, didn't you?
Yeah. So I started with Change by Degrees last March for my placement, and then I started working for them full time actually in June. So it worked out really well for me that they just needed a project manager at the time when I came in as an intern. So that all fell into place quite nicely.
So you're an example of one of the people who got kept on. Sustainability consultancy, I imagine, is a growing area.
Yeah, definitely. And I think lots of growing new services coming on board. So at the moment we have our 3 core services, but really you're seeing a rise in people looking for support and applying for B Corp. You're looking for people looking for climate risk assessments. Yeah, and just carbon footprinting, loads of things. So really it's growing, and you're also seeing what else is growing is people hiring industry experts to actually work internally, because it's not just a nice to have anymore. This is something that businesses have to do. So yeah, you'll just see more and more opportunities really come up in this area.
And I had said that the program was open to a broad range of disciplines. For example, your own background isn't in agriculture and food.
No, my background is in finance. So I spent a couple of years working over in Luxembourg in financial services. And while I really enjoyed the client-facing side of my role, and I loved working within my team and delivering client projects, I was really not fulfilled, I would say, by the finance side of things. So I left my job there and I went traveling, and I went to think about what I wanted to do, and kind of, I was already, really interested in sustainability in my own private life. And I kind of came to the idea that if I could bring that interest along with what experience I already had in client-facing roles, that I could maybe find myself a role in sustainability consulting. And luckily, that's where I ended up after this master's.
So that's really what you were looking for in a master's then, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it was. Like, I wanted to work in sustainability, and I felt that without actual hands-on experience within the industry and without some kind of like strong concrete piece of like education, that I really wouldn't be able to break into the industry unless I literally went back to ground zero and started from unpaid internships. And I think that would be quite a long road. So yeah, I mean, I got exactly what I wanted to get out of it in the end, so it's great. That's
fantastic. What was the best part of the program for you?
Yeah, so I would say, like, I love the co-ops module, and like you said there, I'd never really thought of that not being a part of other sustainability courses. So I think that's a really interesting diversifier for this course. But like, obviously the placement is hugely beneficial, and I went to UL for my undergrad and I did business there, and also co-op is huge in UL. So I actually ended up getting a job in Luxembourg with the place that I did my cooperative placement. So I already knew that, it was really helpful to help you get your foot on the ladder after coming out of college. So yeah, the placement was definitely a really enjoyable part of the course for me. But I mean, the lecturers are brilliant. The modules are really interesting. You learn something new literally every single day in every class. So there's lots to get out of this course.
That's great. Roisin, thanks a million. Can you stay with us for a little while?
Yep, no bother.
Thanks very much. I'm going to bring in Azoro now. Azoro, you're very welcome, and thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much, Bridget.
Azoro, you're 2 years out. So can you tell us about where you are now in your current role?
Yeah, so I'm 2 years out, definitely. I came into the course in 2020 during COVID and graduated in 2021. So right now I'm working with a marketing agency called Core. And basically what we do is we do marketing basically for companies that don't want to have in-house marketers. So yeah, we work with companies within the food industry, larger companies within clothing industry. We have some in the energy industry, so it just cuts across different industries. And basically that's why I like it, because I get to work with different brands and see how each of them work strategy-wise.
And tell us your journey a little bit from the master's through your placement to your current job.
Yeah, so I came onto the master's because I was interested in sustainability. I was interested in the sharing economy, because I saw that was one of the modules on the course, and it was really, really interesting to me. So I came onto the course and I found that it had more than just the core scopes of the course. So yes, we got to learn a lot about cooperatives and the cooperative strategies to building businesses and social impact enterprises. And that was all interesting and very new to me at the time. Very, very interesting. But added to that, we did have a lot of competency building modules as well, like the likes of project management, the sharing economy, like I mentioned, and very interesting digital marketing. And that was where I strengthened my resolve to go into marketing, because it was a really interesting part of the course. We got to do a group work. I worked on a brand called Dingle Gin. Yeah, and that was a very interesting time.
And tell us about your placement on the program.
Yes, and I got a placement with Co-op, which is a wonderful, wonderful organization. It's a workers co-op. So basically that means that the people who work with the company, people who work with the organization, are the owners of the organization. It's a very beautiful setup. And I came into that placement at a time when they were making a transition to the digital side of things, because they were very traditional, because it's such an old company, such a Cork-based company, over 40 years now, I think.
Yeah.
So they would be very traditional with their messaging and with how they reach out to their clients and all that. So at the time, because of COVID, which happened to most of the organizations in Ireland, there was this clamor for digital post-COVID, because if there's anything COVID showed us was you can't rely on traditional. You can't rely on word of mouth or people moving in and out of your organization. So there was a need to make a new website, to build a digital platform, digital marketing strategies and all that. And so I think I came in at the right time, because I had a bit of an experience and interest in that, especially from the course as well. So I just went right into that, and we built the website you see for Co-op now was built during my time in the placement. And I went on after that. That was retained in Co-op, and I stayed there for a bit, and then moved on to a different company after that.
Fantastic. It's great that you got that extra experience by being kept on. And digital marketing is maybe an area that you wouldn't immediately associate with a master's in sustainable development, but it's worked out very well for you. And as you say, it's grown enormously since COVID.
Yes.
You're from Nigeria originally, so you paid the non-EU fees, which are,
yes.
Would you say you've gotten a return on investment so far?
Yes, definitely. And I would also like to add that I did get a cut on the fees. I think I maybe got a cut of like €3,000 of the fees. But yeah, I definitely got my money's worth almost immediately after school. Like it's the amount of skills I've been able to gather from the course and from my placement, and then to launch me into the career that I'm in right now. It's definitely worth it.
And I think people from outside Ireland who are watching this, and there are quite a few of them, they will want to know if there are jobs, if they're being prepared for roles outside of Ireland. So I think you could probably speak to that, I think.
Definitely, yeah. There's a surge of jobs right now in Ireland, and that shouldn't be a problem, especially because of the scope of the course.
And outside Ireland?
Outside Ireland, especially in Africa, like sustainability would be a huge topic, growing topic in Africa right now. So it's a skill that you would have that would put you ahead of others almost immediately. And this is across almost every sector, especially because of the cooperative element to it. It's a strategy that isn't really much exploited in Africa yet. So definitely it would put you ahead of everyone else.
Okay, so I might just finish up with asking you, what was the most impactful part of the program for you?
I would say it was the talks we got to have from industry experts coming in every now and then, telling us about their organizations and what they've been able to achieve, social enterprises and the likes. Yeah. I think that was the most impactful part of the course for me.
To those. Excellent. Yeah. Azoro, thanks a million. Will you stay on for a little while?
Sure.
Thank you. I really appreciate your insights there. And I'm going to ask Siobhan O'Driscoll. Siobhan, you're very welcome, and thank you also for joining us today. Siobhan, you're a materials planner with Ornua, which is a cooperative which markets the vast majority or a very high percentage of Irish dairy products. Can you tell us a bit about your role?
Yeah, so materials planner in Ornua, and there's another fella working beside me. I suppose if anyone knows Ornua, I'm based in Mitchellstown, and we are the premium brand of butter. It's Kerrygold. What I would do in my role is I'd receive the forecast from the demand planner monthly, and I'd work alongside the production planner. And I suppose that's where sustainability comes to our approach straight away. We're looking at what can we make and what do we bring in from certain suppliers on a daily and monthly basis. And then you're reacting to change, let it be volumes of cream supply or packaging or even ingredients. So it's very much solution focused, project management, and seeing what's available down the pipeline into the future.
Excellent. And what came before that role? What was your background?
So I would have did business management in Waterford IT as my undergrad, and then I did my undergrad placement in Bandon Vale Cheese. So I suppose that's where it really all started off, dairy industry in cheese production. And then when I went into my master's in UCC, I was working part-time in Lisavard Co-op in West Cork. So I suppose my experience and my love for dairy grew even more then, because you're dealing with farmers on a daily basis and milk suppliers. And coming from a farming background itself, it really did push me towards this master's, because I was never really interested in just a pure science course. It was business and then maybe partially science.
Excellent. And of course, there are huge challenges in terms of sustainability and dairy, and those are the types of things you're addressing in that role as well.
Definitely, and we would have experienced that in the course from visiting Shannock Farm, the Farm Zero C, Barry Row Co-op. So even for our thesis, we saw a lot of practical solutions before we even went to writing ourselves.
Exactly. And why did you pick UCC over, any other university?
UCC, I suppose it's one of the very few colleges that offer soil science. As I said, I never really wanted a pure science course. So it was a great opportunity to take on that elective, where for semester one, we were down in Moore Park every Friday. We got the opportunity to go to Johnstown Castle down in Wexford with Dr. David Wall. And I suppose if there's any farmers on this call, it's like today, soil science is so important, whether you're talking about the environment or the economy itself. Farmers need to be making more profit, and the way they can do that is by soil sample analysis. Even project management, that course itself, it's hugely beneficial for any student going into work, because it's setting them up for challenges daily. Executing projects is very important in today's work.
Yeah, so the masters made you kind of more attractive. You kind of hit the ground running in terms of kind of a building capacities for competencies, I suppose, for the workplace.
Definitely, and even the scholarship would have made me an attractive candidate towards others as well. I would have got huge exposure with FDC in the agri consultancy side of things. One project that really stood out of placement was the Jameson Biodiversity Project, where I would have worked with farmers across Munster, but even outside of Munster as well, surveying their farms. So, you know, wherever you are put in placement within this course, you really have exposure to gain your own experience and make the most out of it that you can or that you want. Great.
And so you mentioned there Moore Park, that's part of Tagas, which is the National Agriculture and Food Authority. And Moore Park is a unit where they have labs and research and farms and so on going on there. And as Siobhan said, the soil science elective is held out there. So there's great experience for students. Did you find, maybe tell us a little bit about your experience in terms of the program being interactive?
Being interactive, I suppose you already mentioned a lot of our students are coming from different countries. So we would have had a lot of debates or discussions, and just having students from different countries, you really get an in-depth into different people's experience, opinions on that topic. And, you know, you're learning a lot more then because you're exposed to so many, I suppose, just differences in everything, different backgrounds. Then I suppose the visits, we went to Farm Zero C. That was a huge experience because myself for my thesis, I would have taken on what I've learned there. It would have definitely driven me to decide that I wanted to do my thesis on sustainability on dairy farms. Barry Row Co-op, we would have saw the cooperative approaches, but even the water quality farm walks, you know, anything we saw was so practical that we could bring it back to what we wanted to write our thesis topics on.
That's great. It's great to hear it from you, your experience of it, and it's an opportunity for people to not be listening to us all of the time. Siobhan, thanks a million. Are you able to stay with us for a while to maybe help with the questions if there's anything directed at you?
Yeah, no problem.
Thanks a million. That's great. I'm going to ask Gráinne North, who is our work placement manager, maybe to talk to you for a few minutes now and give you an overview of the placements and the project that is undertaken as part of the placements.
Sure. Thanks very much, Bridget. And I think Andy is going to share some slides for me. So just I suppose to introduce myself. So my name is Gráinne North. I'm a work placement manager. So I work with a number of masters in CUBS, the Cork University Business School, including the current masters that we're talking about today. I suppose to explain my role, I always say that it's threefold. I work with employers in industry engagement, in sourcing relevant and up-to-date employment opportunities for students. I deliver employability classes to students to prepare them for the world of work. And then I support students, you know, on a one-to-one basis in their journey to our UCC. So I suppose to start off with the good news that the employer feedback for the on-work placement students and graduates of this program is excellent. So this program in its current format, this is its 5th year of running. It existed in a previous capacity, but this current is in its 5th year, which means at this stage, we really have been able to embed some solid employer relationships. And that means that we have repeat employers coming back to the program every year. And that's a testament to our students who perform well in placement, and employers are, you know, think well of the course, and it's getting a good reputation. So that's great to hear. And we're also constantly, you know, engaging and looking for new opportunities. I know this year we've made a number of different collaborations that we hope to carry into the future. So employers love this mix of broad backgrounds. So Bridget has alluded to it already, and we've seen from our 3 graduates who all came from different backgrounds. You know, this is a full-time 12-month conversion course. And when I say conversion course, to understand what it means is there's no specific pre-requirements in terms of what you have to have studied. So you don't have to have studied food, you don't have to have studied agriculture. So students come from very broad backgrounds. I've just mentioned a couple here: agricultural science, business, law, plant science, arts. And, you know, that's, you know, it brings a great mix to the class in terms of knowledge and discussions. It also means then in terms of placement as well, I think, you know, people might be going different directions, because a lot of the time, even though people have chosen to do this master's and branch out, they draw on their previous strengths or their, you know, their previous background as such when looking at placement or graduate opportunities. And students from the course go into companies, just a couple we're going to mention here: Lidl, supply chain analyst; Airgrid, sustainability and strategy; NutriBio, marketing; and IRD, Duhallow, as a project scientist. So we might move on to the next slide there, Andy, please. So just to explain about work placement. So every year students undertake a period of work placement with a company from approximately March, April to the end of August. So it's a 20-month period, but I suppose what I always say to employers is work placement at a master's level is different to an undergraduate level, because students aren't coming back into college the following September. They essentially are graduates. So that is, I suppose, the benefit of a master's placement for a student that may turn into a full-time opportunity. We've seen Roisin there mention that she's continued on, and also for an employer at the moment, I think, where talent is hard to fill, and where, you know, I would deal regularly with employers and would have a good sense of what's happening on the ground. It fulfills their talent pipeline as well, so they can plan for the future. The majority of placements are in Cork and Ireland, but small numbers do go abroad, and some students may have particular interest. I suppose one important element of this course is you have a dedicated work placement manager, myself. So, you know, I'm aligned to this course, which isn't always the case in universities when you have to source placement or co-op. So, you know, I have a very close relationship with the program directors and the teaching team, I suppose my role, as I said, is to source opportunities to teach the employability skills. So in the first semester, you know, I have class on the timetable where I am face-to-face with the students, teaching them employability skills. I suppose employability is key in UCC. It's part of our connected curriculum and also feeds into our student success, which is our strategy for the next couple of years. And while I suppose we kind of focus on placement as part of this course, I suppose I always say to students, you know, this is broader. I'm teaching employability skills for life. And you know, a lot of what we cover, just to give an indication, you know, I teach students about the placement process. We discuss how to prepare CVs and cover letters. We talk about interviewing, competency-based interviewing, networking, branding yourself, social media, LinkedIn, communication skills, just to give you an indication. And I always say a lot of these things are relevant for your lifelong employability journey and will take you forward onto your next graduate role and therefore. You get one-to-one guidance and support, which again, you know, is a massive asset. So I suppose, you know, for the placement period, we give students time. I suppose we meet students maybe a month or so after they start, give them a little bit of time to settle in and get to know each other and understand, you know, what the course is about. Then we get in, you know, we talk to them about their backgrounds, you know, why they applied for the course, what areas they're interested in. I suppose then we look at the opportunities we have and try, I suppose, match up students to particular opportunities, or, you know, or work further with students. I'm based in the career service, so, you know, a benefit of that is I'm able to draw on the wider team of consultants and advisors. Sometimes some students, which is fine, may not yet know what direction they want to focus on, so they might go for an exploratory career planning session or do some strengths-based assessments, or all those options are there. So I suppose students apply and interview for positions. So it does mirror, I suppose, a real life situation where you, and it's a competitive process, I suppose. And that's why we ensure that, you know, we have those placement classes to prepare you. And we also have tools, which I'll talk about in the next slide, and in terms of interviewing and CV. Students have great successes every year, and other roles I'm mentioning here: Cork Chamber, changes by degree, Teagasc, FTC, Ornua and Carberry. And obviously we've heard changes in degrees in Ornua from our 2 students today. So Andy, I'll go on to the next slide there, please. So again, just to emphasize the employability support. You do receive significant support for improving your employability. And, you know, we understand that this is a journey as well, you know, and students go through and get more familiar with their masters and then begin to kind of understand their areas of interest. You know, and what I'd say as well is with regards to placement, I suppose placement gives you an opportunity to apply your theoretical learning and to gain insight into the world of work. You know, you may end up doing placement in one area and maybe you might decide that that isn't exactly the area you focus on, and another area in an industry might pique your interest. But I suppose all, you know, it's gaining those soft skills. And I suppose from keeping on the ground regarding publications and employer communication, it's these soft skills that employers are really vested in. I think the traditional method of recruitment where, you know, employers just stay focused on very certain specific courses is changing. Things are becoming a lot broader and there's a lot more change between courses and a lot more flexibility, because I think employers are recognizing maybe that specific technical skills can be taught, but it's the soft skills as such which are core if students have that makes them eligible for a wide variety of roles. Again, I suppose as part of my role as well, it's communication with students as well. You know, I would inform them of multiple employer events on campus and online. You know, I suppose in the COVID time, everything was online. Now, I suppose we're probably in a hybrid method. You know, there's a massive UCC recruitment fair. There's other smaller fairs throughout the year. There's employers talks and events. Again, bearing in mind the digital, which as Ori was mentioned earlier on, I suppose we and UCC had to react to the pandemic and our way of doing things. So in addition to face-to-face supports, we now in the Career Service offer particular tools for students that they can use themselves, you know, when they're at home. So we have an interview tool, Shortlist Me, and a CV preparation tool, Career Set. So these are AI tools where students can upload their CVs and get feedback on them, or they can actually do practice interviews, watch themselves back and get commentary on it. So again, I suppose we're blending that traditional in-person and virtual. Again, there is resources for self-assessment, planning your career and learning about employers. So we'll let you know when different employers are on campus, if they're giving a talk, if there's a stand, if there's graduate programs that might be relevant to your course. And again, one-to-one support available to students from the workplace manager and expert career consultants. So, you know, as I said, this course is in its 5th year. We're always learning and developing, and we will be. And I think as the course, you know, gains years and traction, it's cyclical. I suppose even seeing here today our 3 students coming back to talk to us about their experience. And now we will find, you know, that they may be chatting to us next year on behalf of an employer, taking on placement. I suppose we find a lot of students are great advocates of placement, and they, you know, they would come back and say, I've spoken to my employer about how I feel this would be worthy of introducing in the organization. It's also, I suppose, a tight enough knit group in terms of students and lecturers. I know there's particular LinkedIn groups that students are members of. I suppose I always say to students as well to, you know, that network in your class, you know, be it for your personal relationships, but also professionally as well. You know, it's a small world of work and you'll encounter yourself as the years goes on. So again, I think it's, you know, it's testament to the close relationship that has happened so far on this course. So Bridget, I think that's probably it for me. I hope I've given, you know, a good synopsis of what we offer.
You absolutely have, and we're very, very lucky. We are, as staff, are very lucky, and the students are as well are very lucky to have you aligned to the program. And thank you very much for all the insights you gave there into you know, where things are going in terms of the employers and the skills they're looking for, as well as the very detailed information you gave about our actual program and the placement. So thank you very much, Gráinne.
Thank you,
very, very much appreciated, and thanks for giving your time today to do this.
Thank you.
I'm going to open to the questions and answers, and we had a few in from people who couldn't attend today. So I might start off with one of those, and Olive, I might bring you in, Olive McCarthy, founding director of the programme. A question that came in there, Olive, was what if I don't get a 2H2 in my exams? Can I still get a place on the programme?
Great, thanks very much, Bridget, and hello to everybody. Yes, so we have built into the entry requirements for the programme that those who do not achieve a second-class honours grade 2 can still be considered for a place on the programme, depending on previous experience, maybe other educational programmes, etc. And this is done really on a case-by-case basis. So if we receive a very strong application from somebody who includes maybe a detailed candidate statement that explains why they want to do the programme, what their motivations are, and that we can see from their CV that they have, you know, considerable level of experience, for example, in the sector already, then we're open to having a look at that application in a little bit more detail, and we may not require a second-class honours grade 2 qualification in that case.
Excellent. And another question there was about, can you tell us a bit more about the scholarships on the programme and how competitive they are?
Sure. So we have wide-ranging scholarships on this programme, actually. So whether you're an EU student, and when we say EU, we include UK in that, and also for non-EU students. So I'll start with the non-EU students. There's a couple of different options there for non-EU students. So firstly, just to say that when a non-EU student makes an application on the applications system, depending on their qualification or their level of their qualification, there is an automatic scholarship for those who have very high achieving degree. Again, that varies depending on what achievement you have in your degree. So that's one not to forget about. Then we also have possibilities for students, particularly from countries that would be listed by Irish Aid as countries that are supported by Irish Aid. And so these would be scholarships available from the Irish Council for Overseas Students. They're called ICOS fellowships. So anybody who's listening is definitely should have a look at the ICOS fellowships. That's the Irish Aid ICOS fellowships. And again, if anybody needs more information on this, they can always just send me an email and I can send some more detail. The other possibility for non-EU students, and it's only available to non-EU students, is the Government of Ireland scholarships. And there's a range of scholarships there, but one in particular that is very appropriate to this programme, which actually waives the fee for the successful applicant, but also gives them €10,000 towards living expenses when they do come to Ireland. So that's a very competitive scholarship. There's 60 scholarships available in total across all third level institutions in Ireland. So the chances of getting one are quite slim, but it is an option and definitely worth putting an application in for that. So that's at the non-EU level. At the EU/UK level, at the moment, we have 3 to 4 scholarships. Again, there's the business school will give an automatic scholarship to those who are, again, at the high achieving end of their degree. That's a very small scholarship, but that is available. And then we have 3 industry-based scholarships. So you'll see Siobhan mentioned earlier that she had a scholarship that was from FTC Group. We have a number of scholarships available there that pay full fee and a small stipend and offer a placement as well over the summer. We have one scholarship from Carberry Group, and again, Siobhan mentioned a trip to Carberry earlier as well. Carberry offers one scholarship, again, that pays full fees and a stipend, and also includes a placement with the Sustainability Department in Carberry. And the final scholarship then is from Ornua, and again, our students who've received that scholarship have been paid full fees and a stipend and have had a placement with the Sustainability Department in Ornua. So if anybody is particularly interested in any of those scholarships, perhaps they could contact me directly, and I'm sure or Bridget, and we'll be happy to answer any questions on those.
Thank you very much. There is a question in there asking what's the fees for non-EU students, and I understand that it is 18,900. Am I correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Another question in there, Olive. I love the idea of a placement element being tailored to your own interests. I'm interested in all aspects of agriculture. Can you give some examples of placements in this space?
Yes, so again, like Gráinne gave a very good, I suppose, explanation there in terms of how we manage those particular placements. So we will work very much with the student in terms of their individual interests. So we sit down very early on in the year and say, you know, where would you like to see yourself being placed? So as we've seen, Siobhan would have done her placement with FDC Group. We've had students do placements with various other maybe agricultural cooperatives and or with Teagasc, which Bridget mentioned earlier, is Research and Development Authority in terms of agriculture here. So again, once a student comes to us saying they have a particular interest, we're happy to work with you in identifying potential organisations, and a number of those organisations come to us as well. So we're able to match students according to the students' needs, and Gráinne is very involved in that process, and so are the programme directors as well. So we work, it's a very individualised process.
And it's important to stress that point about some of them are kind of science-based, some of them are more non-science-based. They might be more around social farming or something like that.
Again, you're very much depending on people's particular interests and their background. So you couldn't expect to maybe do something particularly scientific if you didn't have a scientific background. But again, just tailored again according to each individual.
And what about non-egg focused placements, Olive?
Again, just depending on people's interests. So we would have all sorts of placements. For example, Change by Degrees, of course, which Roisin would have gone on placement to. Azoro went to the Key Co-op here in Cork, which is a workers' co-op, which is a whole food and vegetarian restaurant and shop. Other placements would have included gosh, I'm just trying to think off the top of my head in terms of where people have gone.
I had somebody looking at marketing for a social enterprise, a local development company.
Yes,
they were looking specifically at marketing strategies for social enterprises as opposed to for conventional companies.
We have Cork Chamber, of course, we have a partnership with Cork Chamber who takes a student every year on placement. We had a student last year who was looking at renewable energy co-op in Galway. We had I suppose such a variety.
Rural transport was another area that somebody looked at, again in conjunction with a rural development company.
Yeah, so wider range of placements, just again depends on people's individual interests and background.
Very good. So just again to encourage people to put in any questions that they may have. I've heard it's a very practice-oriented programme. Can you say a bit more about that?
Certainly, I can. So we try to, I suppose, keep the programme real and grounded in what's happening in real life as much as we can. So we bring in a lot of visiting speakers into the class. Bridget would have mentioned a few of them earlier in terms of just telling us what's happening in practice at any given time. So we would have probably maybe on average a visiting speaker once a week, I would say, into the programme. On average about once a month, then we leave the classroom entirely behind, and sometimes we put on our boots and we go out into the field literally to see practice in terms of agriculture, water, in food business, etc. So again, the field trips will vary from year to year. And I suppose the third element then really is the placement element, where really all of the concepts that you've learned during the programme can be put into practice through what we call our kind of project-based, it's a research-based placement. So while you're on placement, you're also conducting a piece of real research that's of relevance to the organisation that you're with and is addressing a particular challenge or opportunity that organisation has. So it is very much an applied practice-based project, but we do try to keep it very kind of in tune with what's happening in various sectors right throughout the course of the programme.
And I'll have a question in there, very practical question. How many hours of lectures are there each week?
Gosh, that's a good question. So the programme itself is considered as a 90 credit programme. So working backwards, the placement element is 30, well, it's I suppose 20 credits, 25 credits, and 5 credits is a kind of a research element. So we would teach 5 credits of that. The remainder of the programme then is 60 credits taught work, and 60 credits, if you consider 5 credits, is the equivalent of 24 hours of lecturing in a semester. So if you want to multiply, if anyone wants to do the sums there and multiply out across 60 credits, I suppose it's a very busy timetable in semester 1. Semester 2 gets a little bit easier, and again, there's assessment going with all of those modules as well across semester 1 and semester 2. We do try to keep a little bit of space free in the timetable, both in semester 1 and in semester 2, to ensure that we are free to go out on those field trips and get out and leave the classroom behind us. As I said, we leave a considerable gap in on one day in semester 1, and we leave a full day free in semester 2, so we can really get out and travel a little bit and get that practical exposure. So hopefully that answers that particular question.
And another question there, can the fees be paid in installments?
Yes, normally the way the university operates it is that you pay the first instalment at the start of semester 1, and you pay the second instalment at the start of semester 2. There are arrangements for students maybe who need other kinds of arrangements. They can talk to the fees office about maybe a direct debit across a number of months. So there are arrangements there to try to, I suppose, support people in accessing the university as well.
And another question there is, does the programme allow credit transfers?
We haven't really done that so far, but certainly we could certainly look at it and see if there was some scope to do that, but we haven't done that so far. No.
Again, it would probably be case by case, wouldn't it, Olive?
I would imagine so, yes. Yeah, I haven't seen it before, but I'd certainly be happy to look at if somebody did have other qualifications, I'd be happy to look at that.
Absolutely, very good. Okay, we don't have any more questions in at the moment. Keep them coming if people have them. I might just ask Andy to share a slide we have about the application process very briefly. Really just so that people can see that we have a postgrad programs manager, Tricia Shaughnessy, who is happy to take questions and guide people if needs be. Then there's the link there to the UCC application portal, UCC Apply. And then I have 2 links there to more details about the programme, all of the CUBS postgrad programmes, and this particular master's, of course, in there and on the UCC website as well. So I suppose a question is around closing dates for applications, and the non-EU closing date is the 30th of June. And Olive, you can contradict me at any point, but the 30th of June. And then for the EU applications, there's a series of rounds whereby, with different deadlines, whereby people can apply through different rounds. So what our plan would be this session is being recorded. We will send a link, and we'll circulate the link to the recording, and questions can be directed to myself or to Olive or to Noreen, who's also director on the programme, and we'll include our email addresses there for anybody. So I think really all it remains for me to do is to thank very sincerely everyone who gave their time today. I want to thank Roisin and Azoro and Siobhan in particular, and I also want to thank Gráinne. And there are a number of people in the background. There's Andy O'Leary and Tom McCarthy and Rebecca, and there's also Lenka, and there's also Tarek, who have helped arrange the event and publicize the event. I want to thank Olive, of course, for answering all of those questions, and to all of you for attending here today. There's just one more question before I close out altogether. If admitted and I don't get funding, can I refer my admission? Olive, will you be able to answer that?
I presume the question is to defer, is it?
Defer, I presume
defer
the person does need to defer it.
Yes, absolutely. So once you have accepted your offer of the place on the programme, that's your offer to keep. And there is a process by which you can defer to the following year if you wish to do that. And that happens regularly for people who may not be able to get the funding one year, but it gives them a bit of time to line up the funding for the following year. So that's a standard process in the university.
Yeah, because there can be a bit of lead-in time there. I want to close out by saying UCC, by the way, is was the first university in the world to receive the green flag, and it's very much considered a green campus, and a lot of work being done in terms of sustainability in the university here. And our masters is aimed at helping students to articulate challenges around sustainability and shape opportunities. And if you think the program is right for you, we'd love to see you on it, and we'd love to talk to you again. So with that, I think we'll close. And I want to thank everybody for their participation here today, and hopefully we'll see you on the program. Thanks very much.